Hello all, I am Ramkumar Singh once again, and this is the third installment of our series on SQL Server failover cluster installation on Windows 2012 R2. So if you remember in our last two parts what we had done in first part of our this series, we created three different virtual machines and installed the operating system and created different settings for those virtual machines. In the second video, we added few roles and features on the virtual machines, and then we configured the domain and added these virtual machines to that particular domain. So what we are going to do in this particular video, we are going to add a share disk for the cluster, and then we are going to build the cluster. Okay, so first of all, let us go to our steps. So updates are installed and these tasks are also completed. So now we need to install the failover cluster feature and then create the virtual disk on DC node. In fact, we can create virtual disk also first before installing failover cluster feature. So let's go. And virtual disk can be created on either of these node, either on node 1, node 2 or DC node, so that does not matter. So let's go to the good thing about Windows Server 2012 and onwards is that now you do not need any third-party tools like we required in Windows 2008 or R2 like Starwind software to create share disk. Now we have enabled features, so we just need to enable that. So let's go and see how to do it. So this is the server manager, and let's go to file and storage services, and then disk iSCSI. Okay, so this service or role and feature is not installed, so we need to click on here. If you see iSCSI target server is selected similarly here, so we just need to click next and install. And I am doing it after logging into the TC server using my clue admin, and that is in domain account. Alright, so this feature is installed now, and as soon as it gets installed, let's go and see if we do have any options here. Okay, we got it. New iSCSI virtual disk. So now we are going to create a few virtual disk for SQL Server cluster, Windows cluster, sorry. And then we need to, this is the location from where we need to provide the provide space for virtual disk. So in my current virtual machine, I do have a single disk, that is C drive only. So that is all we are having here. So I need to select it and then click on next. Okay, so you see single drive is there. Okay, so we need to provide the virtual disk name here. So let's create one disk with the name as data. So we will create a different disk for data, for log, for MSDTC and for quorum. Here we need to provide the size. So for data I can take it as 1024, not GB of course, it is going to be MB. It is going to be fixed size, and click on next. So we need to provide new iSCSI target here. Name, let's keep it as SQL. So this step is very important. What we need to give here is the server list on which servers these virtual disk should be present. So we need to provide the nodes which are going to be added in Windows cluster, that is node 1 and node 2. And let's check if name is there, or DNS name is also there, but IP address is also there. So we can give the IP addresses here, 192.168.1.11. so that is the IP for node 1. Similarly, we need to add one more node, that is node 2, and we need to provide the IP address of that node 2. So it is going to be 192.168.1.12. so 1.11 and 1.12. These are two servers we are going to bring into cluster. So now click on the next. Okay, no need to make any changes here. Confirmation and then create. So this is creating virtual disk now. Got completed. So we have created a single disk as of now, data, and we need to create few more. So let's follow these steps once again for some different disk this time. Data is already created. Let's create name as log, and let's give a size of say 800 MB. I'm giving a different size of for each disk so that I can recognize what disk is the one. New iSCSI target. I need to again. Okay, no, existing iSCSI target should be there since we have already added these two servers. So no need to give those details once again. Click on next and then create. Okay, say okay. So two different disks got created. Now one more disk for quorum. And let's have this for 600 MB. So three disks got created. Now I'm going to create one last, that is fourth disk for MSDTC service. And 12 MB will be fine for this. Existing iSCSI target and then create. Okay, so we have created virtual disk here on domain controller. Although these disks can be created anywhere on any node, but it is good that you have these virtual disk on DC controller node. Okay, so what we need to do now, we need to present these these virtual disk to node 1 and node 2. So let's go and log into these servers using some domain account. So I'm going to use the same domain account. Okay, and let me log into the node 2 also. Using domain account. This is not the domain account, so I'm going to change user. Okay, so we are here now. So what we need to do, need to see iSCSI targets here. iSCSI initiator. By default the service is not running, so we just need to click on yes, so that this service will start and set to start automatic. Okay, so now we need to provide here the target server name, which is the DC IP address, so 192.168.1.10. click on quick connect and then done. So disk should be somewhere. Okay, let's check if we have got the disks. Okay, so you can see now all those 4 disks are here, 1 2 3 and 4, so 1 GB, 800, 600 and 112 MB. So we will just bring these services disk online. So this was the data disk. Let's give a, if D letter is available, D is not available, so we can provide it E drive, E alphabet. Volume level should be data. And then create. Okay, so another disk is online now. Let's follow the same steps for all 3 disks which are left. And this is 800, so that should be the logged disk. Let's select L for log and give a name log here. Okay, so 2 different disks are online now, and now comes 600, so that was for MSDTC. Or was that for quorum? I just forget what I had selected. Okay, so quorum is 600, so that is for quorum. 600 volume is for quorum. And let's select letter Q for quorum and give a name quorum. That's it. And now we are left with the one drive, and that is for MSDTC. So we will follow the same step for the last drive as well. Getting online, click on yes, then new volume, next, and I'm going to have M. And that's it. Okay, so all good. Let's check my computer if all the disks are there. Okay, so you can see this is this was the local drive, and then we have L msttc quorum. Where the hell is L drive? Okay, so we got the problem here since E alphabet was presented to some other disk, so we cannot have it as E. Okay, so we'll have to change alphabet for that particular drive. Okay, so what we can do now? We are going to take it F data. Okay, all right, so we have all four virtual disks presented here, which are going to be shared between in the cluster. So we have completed this task on node 1, and now we need to follow the same steps for node 2. Go to tools, then iSCSI initiator, click on yes, so that this service will get a start and set to start as automatic. Okay, so we need to enter the target server name here, that is going to be DC node IP address. All right. All right, so you can see all those four shared disk here. So we just need to bring it online. Okay, then bring it online too. We don't need to create new volumes out of these online disks, since we have already completed this step in the other node. So bringing it online should be enough. We just need to keep a check on the alphabets which are assigned to these disks. So let's check data, that it was 1 GB, then log was 800, quorum. Okay, so what we need to data F is fine, but for rest of the alphabets rest of the drives we need to change the alphabets. Okay, so let's start with the log drive, that is 800 MB. L and then log, and we are good. Close. Similarly, we should follow the same step for other two drives. So let's start with this one, that was for quorum. This disk was for MSDTC, so that is why I have select M alphabet and give name as MSDTC. Alright, so we have just added all those 4 virtual disks to both the nodes. So you can see here, oops, how come this is again MSDTC? This should be quorum. So there seems some issue. Let's rename it once again. And that was disk with the space 5112. So it should be this one. Quorum for Q, and then provide the name here. Okay, so FLMHTTC and quorum. Okay, so seems perfect now. Okay, so we are done with the virtual disk creation. So let's go to our steps once again and create virtual disk on DC node. So this is done. Okay, and we had not completed this step, so we are going to add failover cluster feature now on the disk except DC node. So we do not need to add failover cluster feature on domain controller, but nodes only. So let's go. Let's go to features. So we need to add failover clustering feature here. Add features and then next click on install. Similarly, we need to add that particular feature on node 2. So go to servers, click next, and here we need to select failover clustering, and let me check if I had selected application server. Yes, the application server is already installed, so don't worry about that. Failover clustering is sufficient, so just click on install. So again it seems it will take few minutes, and once this service is installed, we will validate the configuration for cluster and then we will build the cluster. So we can make changes, like we can keep that step here, and virtual disk is already added, so no need for that now. This is done. Let me remove the sequence number since it is already invalid now. And we are doing this add failover, and after that we will run the cluster validation check. Alright, so failover cluster feature is installed now on node 2. Let's go and check on node 1 also. Okay, let me log in. Okay, so it is installed on this node also. Fine. So we are good to go now, and we will validate the failover cluster setting. So after installing that feature, you can see this tool got installed here. So you just need to open this tool, failover cluster manager, on either of the nodes. So you don't need to validate the clustering setting on both the nodes. You can start it on either node, on node 1 or node 2, since you need to anyway provide the both the nodes name. So it is getting open. So you can see option here, validate configuration, or this option can be achieved from here also. Just right click and validate configuration. Okay, so we just need to give the both node name here, or IP addresses will also work fine. Node 1 and add, and then node 2 add, okay. So we have added both the nodes which we want to cluster. So just click on next. So this should be the recommended thing. Run all tests. So I will run all the tests. So it will include everything starting with network, disk, IP addresses, and many other things. Click on next. So validation has just started. So you can see a lot of tests are there. So it automatically performs various tasks like iSCSI host bus adapters, BIOS information, memory information, disk. So and network bindings are also there. So you can see a lot of setting validation is there. So it will take few minutes. By the time this validation is going on, what I have started, started copying of the SQL Server software, since once cluster is done, then we will have to start installing SQL Server. So SQL Server setup is residing here in this location. So from this location I have started copying it to C drive, to local drive of the virtual machine, to here. So copy is in progress, and the earlier setup, the Windows Server setup, I have started deleting. So this first one is copying and other one is deleting. I want to permanently delete this. That is fine, since there is not much space left in C drive. So I am having space crunch on C disk. You see here data, these disks are going and appearing and disappearing. So what this is doing, validation test is performing disk failover test. So if you see, we are on this step, validate disk failover. So by now most of the tasks are green only. We should be afraid of the errors in red color, not warnings. So these all the result in green and warnings are okay except the errors. So SQL Server setup is started. Setup copy. Similarly, I can do this for Node 2 also, since I have got some time. Only 10 GB is left. So what I can do, I can delete the Windows Server operating system setup. And then copy SQL Server from shared disk to local. Not this one. The setup. Control C and then Control B. So this copy is on Node 2. Let's go back to Node 1. So again disks are going, appearing, disappearing, going, coming. All this is happening. Alright, so our validation of failover cluster is complete, and as you can see, it is saying testing has completed successfully. The configuration appears to be suitable for clustering. However, user review. So you can review the report from this option. So you can see everything is success except system configuration, and that too there is some warning only, not error. So all seems okay. So here is the some issue, validate or driver signed. So there might be some issue with the signing or certificate of few drivers, so we are okay with that. Click on finish. So now we have validated the validation cluster. So now we are going to create failover cluster. Enter name of both the nodes. Both node name can be entered. Click on next. Cluster name. So here is the cluster name. So we can give any name here. Let's call it my cluster. And where we need to provide one IP address for this particular name. So this is going to be cluster name, and this is going to be cluster IP address. So let's have some IP address for this. So 11, 12, so let's have it 13. Click on next, and it is now creating the cluster. There is no need to create failover cluster on each node. You can create, as I told you earlier, this cluster on any node, and it will automatically add the other node. Okay, so our cluster is created. So this is our cluster, and if you see, there should be no role as of now, since we have not installed SQL Server. So there is no role. In nodes you can see both the nodes, node 1 and node 2, and both the nodes are up. In storage you will see all the 4 disks here: cluster disk 1, 2, 3 and 4, and network, both the networks for each node. Cluster events, this is the option where we can check errors related to cluster. So whenever there is any warning on the error or the error, so it can be seen here. So now we are done with the Windows failover cluster installation, and what we are left with is the SQL Server failover cluster on top of this cluster. So we are done with this step, and now we are left with the last step, that is to install SQL Server and then adding node. Okay, so in this video we have created cluster name as my cluster, and we clustered both the nodes, node 1 and node 2. So, and we are going to proceed with SQL Server installation in our next video. So keep watching, and thank you.